whakare atu nei, te marae takato nei, tēnā horua. Koutou kua tai mai ki roto i tēnei āhuatanga o te whare nei, i naia nei, nā te āhua o Toi, hei tāku. Tōna mahi whatu, tōna akoranga katoa nāna i tuku ki au, ki ngā kai whatu a te Kura Aho. Koutou a te Kura Aho, ka timatangia i te waiata tuatahi, nāku i tito, i te māramatanga o Toi. Nā reira e tū te Kura Aho, te whakaro tēnei ka kite koutou i te rōpū te Kura Aho. Koutou i timata e tahi ko tōku māma, neri huhana rātou, i timata i te taho Toi Te Rito Maihi, ka hoki ki te tau, 2012 ka timata tō tātou rōpū. Nā reira, me timata i te waiata, me te mihi aroha ki te whānau o Toi. Nau mai, hara mai, whakatau mai, e tika ana ki te whakanui i te whānau, ngā uri o Toi, nau mai, hara mai. Tēnei te wā, kāro mō koutou, te aroha o Toi. I praketi i te raku So this waiata is about connection. Pātua mai tōku manoa, i te ahota koe, hei taniko mō tōku iho atua, hei miro mō tōku iho tangata. Kauti te koroa ie, o te aroha e maune ie. Tēnā koutou, e noho.
Kia ora koutou, tēnā koe whai maka, tēnā koutou no mai whakatau mai. I'd like to start by giving a mihi to the whānau o Toi. Tēnā koutou, it's very special to have you with us today. That waiata, the first line is Whatua toku manawa, and I'd like to we'd like to weave our hearts today together as we remember Toi and her legacy. I wanted to kōrero today reflecting on Toi's mahi, her influence on us, and her work with tupuna kākahu. My connection to Maka is through Muka. Maka first introduced me to Muka, to harakeke. I started in a wānau with Toi Ngāpuhi, where Whai Makareta was teaching us tauira, how to extract the muka from the harakeke, and I remember struggling and not being able to get the fibers out, and Whai Maka's beautiful daughter Mikara would come along and help fix my cuts and encourage me, and that's how I met Whai Maka, and when I started weaving. So that's our relationship, Whai Makareta and I, and Toi Te Rito Maihi was the mentor of my mentor, So it's special for us to be here together today and share a bit of that whakapapa of Toi's legacy. Toi Te Rito Maihi was a beautiful weaver, a master weaver, a writer. There are some of her puka around, some of her poetry writings. She was an amazing creative, a kuia, a whaia, a mentor, and a friend. So first I'd like to ask you, Whaia Maka, what was your relationship to Toi?
Well, ka kōrero I te tīmatanga. If I kōrero Māori, it's just because, you know, e pota ana ngā whakaaro tika I roto I te reo Māori. So I'll be swapping in and out of reo Māori. Ko te wiki o te reo Māori tēnei, so nā reira. You'll learn a few kupu Māori by the time you finish today. Tapu haerenga, I roto I te wāo toi, ne? I te timatanga. Before I even came back home to Taitokaro, I was a set designer. I was doing my arts degree in my Bachelor of Māori Visual Arts prior to that, under my uncle's wing of Bob Jahnke down at Mass University. Coming home was one of my biggest goals. I knew I needed to come home. I didn't know how that was going to happen. After tamariki na mawhā, I told my husband he has to give up the TV and buy a farm and get us home. Nā, whaira, and kua huri te ao I te waka tai atu ki te Taitokaro. When we got home, everything changed from the town life to the life we live now. I have 6 children, and in that time I had 2 children when I was with Toi. She saw something in me, a passion of raranga, something that I couldn't fulfill unless if I went to the right person at the time. And when I came to what we call was the Green World, it was a house shop in Kaikohe on Broadway, the street of Broadway. I found myself weaving my way to the back entrance, and there I found Toi in an empty warehouse at the back of the Green World house shop. So, you know, I had to ask, tamu pātai, e ahana koe, what are you doing here? Because it wasn't even Toi that attracted me to her at the time, ko tōna kete, e mauana ia I taua wā. She was holding a kete, and I was entranced to go towards her kete. Well, like she says, Toi always said she'd always do these sort of things where she'd hold something and it'd be like a lollipop, you'd always have to go and run towards it. Oh, koera, te wā tuatahi tūtaki au a Toi. Our relationship started from there. It was the Green World shop, the house shop, where she just said, I'm starting a community weave here. And you're my first student. And I thought, kapai. That was me connecting back home, Sriraranga. Didn't take long, it was 4 years before I learned, not even 2 years, I learned everything I could learn with the Raranga, or what they had to offer there, under the guidance of Bibi Bjork. She was a kairaranga at that time. And I learned everything from kōrero to kaupapa whiwhi, you name it. It was just too easy for me, but with an understanding of, you know, a Bachelor of Māori Visual Arts behind me, I was hungry. Hea kaya naha, you know. And I think at that point, after a couple of years with the Raranga, Toi had watched me over that time, and just from the background, she was watching. And I remember saying, I've got nothing more to learn. And she gave me a tauira, and it was just a little sample. A tauira, she said, here, make something of this. And it was a raranga piece. It was korari raranga, and it was just a tiny little piece of raranga, and came off there was aho, like with the muka was flowing from the strands. So, kia hau nei he tehi, it was a test, te tūtahi. I took it home and I produced my first kakahu. And it was almost like a transition from raranga into whatsu. Because when you look at the fibres, when you have raranga, you have korari. And then at the very bottom, it was the extraction of muka, which was my next challenge. It was a beautiful journey with Toi. My relationship with her was from a student to a very close companion at one point, where I would spend a lot of time with her at her little whare in Waimate and listen to her stories. The journey of raranga, everyone does. It's a long journey, but it continues. And when I actually dove into ngā mahi whatsu muka, my world changed again. It was a realm that I felt really connected to. As I was connecting back to my hapu and my marae and tōku reo, it was interwoven into me coming home again.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Wow, learning under you, Whaia, I can sense the influence that Whaia Toi has had on you. And as you were speaking of how she's given you little challenges, I remember the first year I was learning to weave, I would call you and have real specific questions about dyeing, harakiki, and I remember the way you would answer my questions is with more questions, or just, prompts to help me in finding my own solutions and figuring it out for myself. I remember one time you told me, like, titiro ki te tile. Look to the tile for the answers that you're seeking. So I want to ask you, Whaia, how did Toi influence the way that you mentor and the way that you teach?
I have a history of, te whaia ko ahau mō ngā kura tuarua. I was an art teacher for a few years, and so I had that teaching background. But, mō ngā, actually when I came to Toi, her teachings were very connected to te taia. It was a different way of observing, looking at the whenua, looking at your fibres, your materials, and how you use them. I had to not learn, but I had a really great appreciation of how she was teaching me at the time. Her teaching was to take me to Puketi Forest, and a lot was observe the taiao and how the leaves lay and how they form and how they intertwine with each other. So it was almost this connection with the taiao as a practitioner, as to using your fibres in such a way so it was meaningful and it told a lot of stories through your fibre. I learned so much from Toi, and the best parts of it was when she brought in little teasers into our Kura Aho class, sessions, and she would bring in a little weaving piece, place it on the table, and then she saw the tauira, us, ahau nei, just clamber around this taonga and look at it all four corners, every inside, outside, and try and figure out, okay, me pēhea au te raranga I tēnei taonga, and mō te aha tēnei taonga. So she was actually teaching us to decipher the weave, our tupuna's weave, and understand for what reason is this taonga for. connecting it to the whenua, connecting it to the purpose, to whom it may go to. So when I look at taonga, I say, mō wai tēnā taonga, mō te aha. How do the fibres connect to that person? So there was a beautiful way she taught our weavers through teasing us, first and foremost, through making things quite fun. And actually the same way I teach you is like allowing you to figure it out, you know, by more questions. Yeah.
Can you tell us about Kura Aho? Who is Kura Aho?
Oh,
Where
Kura
did it
Aho.
start?
Oh my gosh. Kura Aho started in 2012 when I moved home. I think at the time, you know, it was a community weave at the Greenworld Health Shop at the time, because it was free to actually be in the back warehouse to weave. We were lucky. Kura Aho consisted only of me and Dude Beaton, kei konei koe, kua tai mai koe. It was me and Dude. And it was quite interesting back in that time. I had buddied up with Toi, I roto i ngā mahi whatu, ngā mahi kākahu. And then I saw Dude, and I knew Dude and his mahi whatu skills. He was walking along across the window, and I sighted him and went, Dude, haramai. And so it was me, Dude, the trio, and Toi for a few years. And this is where we ventured out into spaces, Puketi Forest, Kaitaia, observing the taiao, gathering resources, and really connecting with our fibres. She taught me an amazing thing. I think when I was a kairaranga, I would make kete that was absolutely colourful with the terry dyes. Toi's expertise was appreciating the colours of nature. So she gave me a new lens when I went into mahi whatu. So there was that other side, a more of a connectedness to te taiao, me ona tai, me ona herenga, katoa.
Did she also give you challenges?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And with te Kura Aho, we were always challenged by Toi. She'd always give us tests and challenge us to push ourselves in ngā mahi whatu, to see patterns within tāniko. As you can see behind me, uenuku. The top third of uenuku actually is referencing, you know, an ancient tāniko pattern, which actually comes through her work, not only here, but at Kohewhata Marae in the tukutuku. The tāniko pattern surfaces there. And I remember the National Weavers Hui we had in 2023, we had a beautiful exhibition of Toi's mahi, ona mahi katoa, from painting to manu tukutuku to ngā kākuhu, the diversity of like mediums she used in that time was always expressing her connection to the whenua, to te hononga, mai te rangi ki te whenua ki te moana. And I saw that in most of her works, just like uenuku. That's what I've tried to do in my work, is have that sense of connectedness, those dualities we have, the seen and the unseen. Pēnei nā, I te tāniko. When you kind of look away, your peripheral vision goes, oh, there's something there. You know, there's movement in there. The seen, the unseen. The physical, the spiritual. Koira tōna ona pukenga I roto I te mahi whatu. Not just mahi whatu, it was in painting, it was in all the works that she was creating at the time. Ngā manu, her manu was her observation of the space she was living in. She would have been the only one I knew of that had such an extensive range of arts. So usually you stay in either printmaking or painting or so forth. She had it was everything. But still, you know, that kōrero, that hononga, te aho. So, yeah.
I'd like to ask you about this design behind us in Uenuku, and the one that she's woven in Kohewhata. Toi spent a lot of time in museums, in the archives, studying our ancestral kākahu from the 1700s and 1800s. She studied the tāniko within them, and she spent so much time breathing life into these ancestral designs and bringing them out into the world, even though they remain in museums. Can you tell us about this design and the tauira piece that you've made?
For a very long time, Toi had pushed me into tāniko, and I was, you know, I love tāniko. The pattern at the top of Uenuku, actually let me talk about Uenuku. Uenuku is about the carved pou figure, which was almost like Māoringa ki te rangi nei. It was called Uenuku, no Waikato, tēnā whakairo. This was her interpretation of Uenuku. And there are elements in there that actually bind us to the potential. At the lower part of Uenuku is almost like te kore te pō, the potential at the very base of Uenuku. Coming through that is the colours of Uenuku, but also the presence of the air, water and light. So her direct connection to te taio, what are the elements of Uenuku? She's bringing that into her paintings. What actually happens is that it all of a sudden moves upwards into the three prongs that are the most powerful symbols there that people see and often actually look in awe. They look at it for so long and then they say it's moving. Oh, of course it's moving. Because that was intentional. That's how her connection was, from the unseen to the seen, from the physical to the spiritual. And that particular tāniko itself actually is from the 1700s and is over in, unfortunately, overseas in the Oxford Museum. And what I've just found out recently, that particular pattern is connected to Tūranga Nui a Kiwa, which is Gisborne, which is almost like the zigzag pattern you can see coming up through that painting. That pattern there is, you know, one of our early patterns. Today we have geometric shapes, patterns, triangles, diamonds and lines. This is backdating to the time when our tāniko was linear and you saw patterns through the placement of those lines. It was moving in that time. And so when you think of a kaitaka and the lower bottom of the border, this pattern, as you see at the top, would actually cover the whole bottom of the tāniko border. As you move and as you wear it, you are activating something else. So when you wore it and you moved, this pattern would move and you would see them. These are the patterns that are coming through, that are visible through linear tāniko, I call it. As I said, this is my prakatihi, my practice, and you can almost see the arrow lines through there, but I'll move it and it actually does something else. It seems for other people they call it an optical illusion, but this is what our tupuna did. This is how they actually created their patterns and their stories and their connections to who they were. This is the actual backdating, 200 years. This is how amazing they were, our tupuna. So that's why I have a love of tāniku, and that's why I'm doing this one here. And I've got to say this, yes, it is in Kohewhata Marae, this particular pattern. Toi had used this in several places, in tukutuku at Kohewhata Marae. She also used it in one of her tukutuku samples, and it would have been her last sample. I remember her creating a miniature tukutuku panel. It was made of red barbecue skewers, muka, and I think kōrero strips. And she started making, it was only this size. And I remember her in the milking shed. The milking shed, I say the milking shed because I converted my milking shed into my workshop so that we could weave all the time. And she would continue weaving this miniature tukutuku pattern, which actually had this pattern on it. So she was always interweaving this particular pattern in all her works across, whether it was painting, tukutuku, and so forth. So, yeah,
she really breathed life into these ancestral tāniku designs. The kaitaka that Whaiamaka mentioned is in the UK, and I recently found out that it's not just anyone's kaitaka, it's not just any beautiful, stunning kaitaka from the late 1700s, but it actually was gifted to Tupaia. Tupaia was the raiate and tohunga who traveled with Captain Cook, and they landed in Turanganuiakiwa, which was where this kakahu was gifted to Tupaia. And then when Tupaia passed, Joseph Banks took that kaitaka to the UK, where it remains in a museum archive. So Wahea Toi really had to go in, had to sift through those archives, study the tāniku, and has breathed life into it again through all these different ways that really push the boundaries of muka, of tāniku, of traditional, contemporary. She just expertly wove her way through our tupuna knowledge into today, and I can really see the way that you also do that, Whaiamaka.
Oh, absolutely. I've taken all of her teachings, and as a Māori designer in an architecture firm, that's how that is my practice. When I look at fabricating buildings or interiors, it is with the intention of understanding what that space is for. You know, one of the ones that I've done recently is the radiation clinic. So the precast panels that wrap around the radiation clinic, that is through a visit to the ngahere, because, you know, I think one thing Toi taught me was, you know, you need to connect in order to receive. And so for that particular design, and I don't say design, I shouldn't say design, that tēnā pakati, that one was given when I entered into Puketi Forest, and it was the sense of actually being protected while you were going through radiation. So, mena ka titiro au ki etahi whare, ki roto ki waho, ka titiro au me pēhea au ki te tākai taua whare I te mea pai mō te oranga. How I see it was protecting our loved ones that are going through treatment at the radiation clinic by wrapping the building with the elements of Tainui, arangi, ngā rākau, āKAU, to protect them, mai ngā rā, all those elements outside, to protect them inside. Pera I te pēpi, I te poi I a rātou. It's a whānau within itself when people are sick, when people are mawiwi. So as a designer for architecture or interior exterior, I often think about how does this, my skills that I've learned from Toi, benefit those that are using those spaces, and that's, you know, how I fabricate these buildings. So it is more meaningful, more intentional, and he hononga anō to connect them. I'm always doing that with tai tamariki, to connect them to those spaces by getting them involved in actually the design process towards the completion of a project.
I want to come back to Kura Aho.
Aye.
I was wondering, what do you see for the future of Kura Aho?
I think for Kura Aho, we are continuing what she had taught us, is to explore the spaces, new spaces, weave into the future, take what we have learnt, and she gave me this mātauranga freely. She didn't need to, but she did. And I remember at one point, you know, she was actually getting a little bit mawiri, and to her it was really important because she was feeling tied within herself that she had given all she could give. Yeah. And I think when you get to that point, when you feel tied within yourself, that there is somebody that is going to carry ka kawe atu tēnei, ēnei mahi ki mua. And that's what it was about for her, was to carry on her legacy of connection. Kia rāranga, kia whātūria i ngā tangata, mō te wā. Yeah. There's so much to say. There's so much to say. Toi was a magnificent wahine, and I was very close with her. I'm very fortunate to have had that time with her in the last 10 years of her life. And what I can talk to you is about kākahu. In that time, we've had many kākahu created for very important people, and I think we're going to continue creating kākahu into the future, because that's the reason why Kura Aho was created. That was her way of giving to us and really focusing in on nā ko te muka, ko te whenua, ko te aho. There's so much to be learned there.
What is one of your favorite taonga creations of Toi?
If I had to think about it, it would have, I think I was mesmerised by her floating kākahu. Her floating kākahu made out of really thin korari paper. Oh, there were so many taonga that she shared with us. And you know what, I think really all of her collection of kākahu is what fascinated me the most, because, you know, it was connected to the tile, and she beautifully wove, you know, ngā rawa o te tile together meaningfully. And I was always amazed how she would create these magnificent kākahu, you know, and that's what I carry forward. One of my most recent kākahu I've created was Ipu Kahurangi, he kahu kupenga tēnā. Ipu Kahurangi was almost like a netted club, inspired purely by Toi. I was thinking to myself, you know, as a traditional weaver, I'm also jumping into the contemporary as well. It's like, how can I create my story or tell my story through my whatu techniques and the outcome, the tangible outcome of this kākahu. And the whole intention was the same as Toi, was the idea of potential through the void. And then I actually did that through the kupenga, as this veil of a kupenga with a void within the kōpū o te wahine. And then it was actually shielded with, I would say, almost a breastplate at the very top, all made entirely of muka, And visually, as I'm creating this, I'm going, this kaka who stands tall, stands long, spreads so far and wide, but with the sense of protection. And these are all the teachings I've been given from, been handed over from Toi. And I'm just so lucky to have been that person, along with our dude, and along with Kura Aho. And so we've been going for a few years now. Off and on, COVID kind of did its stint, but we came back again with the help of Maureen Lander. Maureen Lander reignited our passion in the weaving again, kicked us up the butt and went, hey, you could better grab those aho, those fibres again, and got us moving. So Kura Aho is our little rōpū in Kaikohe, Pioneer Village, and we just come together with our fibres and look forward to the next project in the future. Yeah.
Before I wrap it up, Whaea, and open the floor for some pātai, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I've been really blessed over the last, when Toi Te Rito Maihi passed in 2022, I was granted her visual diaries, and I've been the kaitiaki of those visual diaries up until now. I have learned everything I need to know, and I am more than willing to share all that knowledge with those that come my way within ngā mahi whatu. And it's my, I feel it's the right time to hand these visual diaries over to the whānau. So, he tūku tēnei. So I'm gifting, and it should have always been in your hands, ngā mokopuna o Toi Te Rito Maihi, katika, patuku. That's all I have to say. Kia ora. Please, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Toya. My mum is Toi. My father is buried. My second name is Kerry. Both being very strong. They fought for 6 months, for 6 weeks, until I finally allowed me to have a name. Okay. Now, Mum and Dad teaching methods were extremely different. Mum will put a problem up on the board, and then she'll give an answer, and then they have to work it all out. And then she found that different children would have different ways to get into the answer. And then she will teach them how to understand our different effects, because we're all different, we're not all the same. And that's what's wonderful about it. So, with Dad, you take one look and you just be quiet. Yet, when they worked together, they were brilliant. They interwove like a plait that is just had no ending. So, in Mum's teaching how you describe, if she could live 2,000 years more, it wouldn't be enough because the body can't keep up. In fact, there would be no limit, because on what she chose to do, and she had love for her families and every other commitment, it was a playground. In order for you to understand her playground, she will do everything possible for you to become what she's interested in, to feel all the effects holistically, inside and outside. And within those journeys, you step out of comfort zones, you unlock closed doors, you open up your brain, because apparently we don't use it all, and your heart runs, and your head works it out. Some heads are different, they take a bit longer. Right, my one is that I've got the head in a towel, I've yet to find a body to join it all up. So my role is different. I can weave with people, but with the weaving much to mum's despair. But hey, it's okay, she's got lots of daughters and sons everywhere else. That's Kaupapa Pai. And she never said no, because she wanted more people to learn, to understand, to play, to enjoy their life on earth. Because she wasn't going to be around here for another 2,000 years. So you would describe her well. And I thank you all for coming. Yeah. So, my son Moana would like to talk.
I don't have a lot to say, but first off, thank you for doing this. It's been amazing just to see her art up again, to be honoured once more. And you mentioned, you were asking favourite taonga of hers. I do have one, I do, but it's not for what it was. She was asked to make kete for the Prime Ministers at the time. I'm sure some of you know this one. But she was not happy with them, so she made one, but she made it so thin it was practically useless. It was beautiful, but it was useless. And she named it the Politician's Promise. I loved her stuff because it was the story attached to them. That's what I love. And sometimes there were 2 stories or 3. You know, one for, you know, to display and look good, but then there's another little story like, you know, our politicians are a bit useless. So I loved all her cheek and her stories. Yeah, it's been amazing to see this again. And yeah, it's great to see her works and her passion continuing on through everyone she taught. And she's been teaching for her whole life. She's taught thousands of people all over the country, across the world. Yeah, it's amazing to see it continue on. Because all she wanted to do was share what she was passionate about with anybody willing to learn. She found so much joy in it. So thank you for coming. Thank you for setting this up. It's an honor to be here.
When people just will give you a waiata, Te Kura Aho, and should we sing your... We actually composed a waiata when whakapara marae. He waiata tēnei e hono ana ki ngā mahi whatu, ki ngā raranga, ki ngā mahi o te whare pora. So, yeah, let's sing that song to finish. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Te koha.
Kia ora koutou everybody. Ko tukoha ka tuku ingoa. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for setting this up, and it's been really good to see my grandma's work. Oldest of grandmother's children, and yeah, she was a life force. She was strong, she was sharp, and she was wise when she watched people. You couldn't take her for a fool, but she observed the world, loved it, and she was so clear on the narrative. So research was really important. She was thorough on getting the information and making sure she got a very good understanding. She was also very smart with people. And she had a great sense of humour. If there's any time you could hear her laugh, it's one of the best things I've ever heard in the world. She had the most infectious, loud laugh. She loved life. And she had that ability to step into a room and she could, you know, command energy. So she was humble, smart, but it's such a privilege to be a descendant of hers. It's such a privilege to see the way her knowledge and work and sharing has spread across the globe. It's so good to see Whānuku. And we're amazingly proud of her. She's created and brought us back into a passion for who we are. It's something we should be so proud of. And I love that she never gave you the answers, because she's never going to give you the answers. That's how it was. She'll put something there and go figure it out. Find out who you are through your art. She wasn't looking for a carbon copy of her, she was looking for you. And she always set up the environment so you could find you. So appreciate everyone coming out and and just everything those things. So come on.
Thank you.
It's been a while since we did this one. Kura Aho, Kea Kaitou Te Kupu, Ngāpuhi, Toi Te Rito Maihi. Because it's a long one. Nō reira koutou, ko tai mai ki roto I tēnei whare. E mihi ana ki o koutou, e mihi ana ki te whānau, e mihi ana ki te Kura Aho koutou, me haere tonu ana tēnei mahi a muri I tēnei kōrero. Throughout the day we'll be continuing on to create our muka, our aho, our whenua, and have a go at whatu as well. And we'll have our Kura Aho members help facilitate that throughout the day, so you're more than welcome to join us. Okay? Kua tohi mai te mā korari me puhu I te whare mora. E pia I te nuka e tawai nei au. E tara I te kaupapa. Nā te puke, nā te aho tapu, I whakatau ira. Nā te patu, he mātauranga, ka tūturu ngā tohunga. Ki ata niko niko te ao kiko kiko. He rito wahau, nā hine te hiwa iwai. A reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ka pai. Mena he pātai te rima nei, pai ana, tuku mai. The floor is open for any questions you may have, while even the whānau's here too. Ka pai.
Any questions? Everyone's in the room at the same time. Even the audience, it's a bit like, oh my gosh, I see.
Kia ora mai anō rā tātou katoa. Nā tēnei te pātai. Engari e mihi kaua te kia Porou, te atāhua ngā kōrero I te ia Porou. O tēnei mātanga mo tēnei tohunga. I waiko nei I wana taonga. I poi poi, I whāngai mā kōrua. Te honga I hiakai ana. O reira taku
mihi nui kia. I peka noa mai a hau, no te mea ki te haere mahau ki taku wharanga tira tāma. Pānu mau I enei kōrero I roto I te nupe pai na pō.
Oh, yeah.
Ka mea tau ki taku wharanga tira me haere mai au ki kone, he mahi ki anō tāna. Nō reira whakatakahia mai au ki kone. Kia rongo au I ngā kōrero. Me pēnei pēr taku kōrero. E rua te kaupea tau ki muri. Ka tīmata tēnei I te whaiwhai haere ngā mahiraranga. I raro I te maru o tika te kanawa. Nā wai, ka puta te kōrero kei te mate haere tō tātou reo. Nō reira, ka waihotia e au tērā ki te taha, ka whai au ki te whakaakoi tō tātou reo. Ki roto he kai whakaakoi I ngā kura tuarua I tau awa. Hoi anō, he roa ngā kōrero mo tērā, engari, ki roto I taku whatu manawa, e ki ana e rāhera, tērā pēr kua tai te wā, me hoki anō koe ki ngā mahi whatu me ngā mahi rāma. E hara au I te tohunga mo tērā mahi, engari kai ngā kau tonu au. I tīmata au ki te mahi whatu, ki te mahi me pēhea te whakaputa I te muka mai te kōrari, e rā āhuatanga katoa. Hoi anō, pupuaka nei roto I taku whatu manawa, me tūa rāhera ki te mihi kia kōrua, ka hoki nei, ka haere nei māu ki tāmaki, engari e kore au e wareware, I ngā kōrero I anei e koe. No kai kohe anō hoki a hau ka horau e mōhio, kei reira tō kura. Kei kerikeri māu e noho nei tēnei wā, engari whakapono mai a te wā ka te kātu ki te kite ia koe. No reira tātou mā koutou I ngā kau nui mai nei, I te haere mai ki te whakarongo ki enei kōrero a tāhua. Tēnei wahine a tāhua, aha koa ka hore ui mōhio kai, I rongo moana mai. Ka hore ui mōhio a kanohi kai. E mihi ana kia koutou, e mihi ana kia tātou katoa. I whai wā, te haere mai ki te whakarongo, ki te noho tahi, ki enei tauira o tērā wahine a tāhua. O reira, I o ngai wēnei kōrero, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai no tātou katoa. Me waiata ke pēu I tēnei waiata. Ko tahi ka pua I te rangi, he marangai ki te whenua. Ko tahi ka pua I te rangi, he marangai ki te whenua. Ko whiti te rā ki tua, o kahurangi, e kore koe e ngaro, taku reo rangatira, taku reo rangatira. Ai mui taku noho ngaiho, koe nā taku kaupapa e whai nei au, kei roto au I te kaupapa o te ātārangi, ko tērā e hiki ake te hunga hiahia ki te ako I te reo. Mā ngā rākau karakara nei rātou e ako no reira, e mihi ana kia tātou katoa, tēnā koutou te whānau o toi, tēnā rau atu koutou, he rau e te kite atu I te whakarongo kua koutou. Kia ora mai. Ka te kātu.
Ai, ki tōku me taha tōna wāne. Ai. Ahoi.
Ka mihi te whānau. Ngā koutou. Ngā koutou.
Incredible. I'm so glad we recorded it. There's so much mātauranga shared today. And that question, pick her favourite. Well, one. So you are welcome to stay in this room. We'll do some reconfiguration for our weavers to set up their spaces. You are also so warmly welcome into our activity centre where we've got some playful setups. And let's take a whirl from what you guys were saying. Make it playful. You need to go outside, get some inspiration, bring it back in. Are you sure there's no last questions for Toi's whānau or our speakers? Okay, have a beautiful day. Come on. Can't turn the music up, sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
We can